hole open on an electrical service box. It's a big one. Anyway, I was going to finish that up, just make sure everybody's tight, and then relabel the door, and then install the front cover with the door, and then I'll be done with that. So looking forward to that. That was a good project, but it was the only thing slower than taking all that stuff loose is putting it all in. Oh my God. But then I'll wait this week and see if my son calls me. If he doesn't, then I'll text him later on towards the end of the week and say, hey, you come get this generator,
Kilowatt 8, Romeo Oscar.
Delta India Alpha.
Alpha number 8, United Kilowatt.
Roger, Ferdy, November 4, Delta India Alpha. See, you're down into Africa now. 5H,
bedazzlers and who's its and what's its for all their Christmas kids. So they're spending their money on that instead of construction projects right now. So you should be slacking up and have a day to come.
Here's some. All right, roger that. 73, have fun.
Matadero, sí. Allá atrás había un centro de alarma de la compañía.
Thank you for 5x5 into Nova Scotia. That's about a 5x1 on the peak, my friend. Please stand by for a second operator.
Go ahead.
Victor Echo 1, Charlie November Sierra. Yeah, it's about a 5-1.
Roger, you're 5-5, Nova Scotia.
Thank you so much, Fern. Have a great day, and thanks for Nova Scotia today.
7-3, have fun.
Kilo 8, Golf, Quebec. Thank you. You're up to 5-9 right now, West Virginia. That's crazy, man. There's so much noise here. I feel like I want to take a shotgun and just
On a Radio Ocean.
November 4, Oscar Alpha.
Alpha Charlie 9, Delta Zulu.
Kilo Bravo 8, Yankee Tango Delta.
Kilo November 4, Oscar
Yankee
Alpha.
Tango
Charlie
Delta.
9, Delta Zulu.
All right, folks. How you doing? Looks like we got a couple of viewers in here. So we'll get moving. First thing I wanted to say was greetings. Season's greetings. Hope everybody's doing well. And this has been something that's been on my mind for quite a while. I figured, what the heck, I'll throw, like I always say, a bunch of spitballs. First thing I'm going to say is this is purely subjective. I'm just going to share my own personal viewpoints on this. So it's amazing how things change, how tastes, interests, what floats my boat changes. Not on a day-to-day basis, but how it's morphed over a period of the past few years, seeing as how we've all gone through the bottom of cycle 24, and now we're on the uptick of 25, and the bands are changing. The shorter wavelengths are open. So I'm going to share. I'm going to go through the bands, pretty much all the bands from 80. I don't do 160, but I'll share some thoughts on like 80 all the way to 10 meters. 6 excluded because 6 isn't, it's worthless here. So I don't play on 6. But I figured I'd just do this, and this would be mostly for hams that are new. Or you could be an older ham, been around for a while, and just getting back on HF, and maybe this would be a benefit. I don't know, but I'm just going to share how I approach these different bands and what I personally like to do. As you guys know, I'm fairly diverse, although I do not do CW. I'm not a CW operator, which is extremely unfortunate. Jonathan, who's in the chat, is a CW operator. So before I go any further, what I need you guys to do is to put what your favorite bands are. And you can do it right in the chat. The comment section will be available once the video goes to YouTube, renders to YouTube. So you guys can put what your favorite bands are and why. It can be as pithy as you want or as lengthy as you want, because I'd be interested. I'm always interested in this stuff. I want to see what everybody's thinking, where everybody's at. So let's get right to it. So we're going to start at 80 meters. Let's just go with 80 and 40 for now. They're two very different bands to me. So I kind of look at 80 and 40 meters similarly, but there are some differences, right? Let me just give you an example. There's a group that gets together on the weekends down around, I think it's around 3610 or 3611, 3.610 or 11. I listen to them quite a bit. I don't talk to them because sometimes, I would say more often than not, they're talking about things that are like way over my head. But it is interesting, right? So I find those two bands, especially 80 meters, and I'm talking down, and I've heard it up in the general section, in the general portion, which is above 3.8. Sometimes there are some very interesting QSOs that are technical. I'm kind of a technically minded person. I like that stuff. So I'm always gathering information. I'm always learning. And this includes the QSOs that I get involved with, right? So I may sit back and listen, I do a lot of listening. And so they may be talking about something to do with antennas, or what you see here. This is the Anon. Very complex system, right? A lot going on with the Apache Lab stuff. And I don't just find it interesting, it's actually educational. So I kind of look at 80 meters in a twofold way. Now, I used to do, and hey, Jose, how you doing? And let me just address the chat. Jose and 741. Yeah, thanks for putting that stuff in there. And Lars, how you doing? Good to see you. So, thanks for putting that stuff in there. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So anyways, 80 meters is kind of like a double-edged or triple-edged sword. I used to do a lot of DXing. I shouldn't say a lot, but I did a good amount of DXing on 80 meters. I had an antenna system up for that. But I found that 80 meters in the DX window, it's the same people every night. So I got bored with that. So, meh. Anyways, so the two edges of that coin or sword, one is for educational purposes and the other is to rag you, right? do a lot of rag chewing on 80 meters. It can be a lot of fun. So that's kind of how I look at 80 meters. I should add that I do a lot of zombie, and oftentimes in the morning, usually around 4 a.m. up until gray line, I'll be in there on 80. If I'm not in the mood to talk, I'll actually be running some FT8. Fun band for FT8. I just wanted to say that because as gray line approaches, this is in the morning. Gray line approaches, you will see things begin to change depending on how much power you're running. I always pay attention to what I decode, like Japan, VK. There are certain times where things will start steaming in on 80 meters. I find that fascinating because I'm kind of a student of propagation, which we all should be, right? That's what makes the world go round in the ham radio realm. Okay, so that pretty much ties off 80 meters. So now we'll jump up to 40. 40 meters, I kind of look at as a hybrid, right? So I enjoy DXing on 40. I love to rag chew on 40. Pretty much I've always said that's my go-to band. When everything else is crap, I'll go to 40, aside from the bottom of the cycle. So you guys that were around at the bottom of the cycle 2 or 3 years ago, on 40, we saw the band. I saw it literally just boom. Once gray line came through in the morning, it was over. I mean, it was like you could hear crickets in there. Horrible. Just the bottom fell out during the day. However, at night, it would open back up again. I don't do a lot of FT8 on 40, but so I do a lot of DXing. If the DX is there, absolutely, I will work it. If a group is in there that I may have something in common with, I will go in and I will jump in. If I have something to say that's relevant to what they're talking about, I'll jump in. And for the most part, it's a great band. Now, the reason why I say it's my go-to band is that I can go on 40 meters at any time of the day or night, and I can call CQ, and usually within 2 or 3 calls, somebody comes back to me. It's a lot of fun, but it's very laid back. It's very casual. It's not like 5.9, and there are guys that do this, 5.9, 7.3, see you later. But 40, you usually go a little bit longer on 40 in the overs. Exchange pleasantries, get that out of the way, go through your working conditions, the whiskey x-ray, and then you're on to the meat and potatoes, right? That's where I get to know people. Made a lot of friends on 40 meters. Some of my best friends that I talk to on HF, I would say most of them are on 40 meters. Okay. I have a lot of good friends on the other bands as well, but we never have QSOs like we have on 40. All right, so that kind of rounds out 40, right? My go-to band. 30 meters. 30 meters I call the freak show. 30 is a freak show. Of course, that's modes. It's not a phone. Here in the United States, you can't get on phone. You can't do phone on 30 meters. So if you're a big FT8 operator, my advice would be to get an antenna up for 30 meters. Awesome band. If you like running FT8 or FT4 or like what Jonathan's doing, JS8 call, awesome band for that. You will see as gray line starts coming in, it's like a hybrid between 20 and 40 meters. Common sense would tell you that, right? But it behaves differently than 40 and 20 meters. You will see long path open on 30 meters. Literally, you can set your watch to it, especially in the wintertime. And we're about probably a few weeks out, where as the days get shorter, the nights get longer. Of course, gray line comes in the afternoon sooner, right? So you get a bigger window. So here in the Northern Hemisphere, in North America, you get a better window for long path propagation on 30 meters. Well, any band, right? But if you watch how the gray line works through the summer, it kind of has these big gradual slopes, right? And as the days get shorter, it gets sharper. But the days are shorter and the nights are longer, so you'll get a better window there. I love 30 meters. If I'm going to run FT8 in the late afternoon, heck yeah. Great band. You can work the entire freaking world on that thing. And I don't run more than 10 watts. Very rarely on FT8. Excuse me. So, okay, 30 meters. 20 meters. Let's go to 20. 20 is kind of like one of those, now take the bottom of the cycle out of the equation, right? 20 was pretty cack at the bottom of 24 a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, that went way by just as bad as 40 did during the day. There was stuff there to work, but it's not like it is now or before the cycle fell off in 24. So 20 meters, you can do it all. That's kind of how I look at 20 meters. It's like anything you want to do. You want to do CW, you want to do the digital data modes, you want to do slow scan television, you want to do phone, voice, you want to DX. I listen to guys, that's one reason why I had that up on at the beginning of this video. These guys are sitting there rag chewing. So you never know what you're going to find. For the most part, I shouldn't say that. I'm not sure what the ratio is, but it's not my go-to band for rag chewing. If I want to do a 5973 and I just want to get in and work people, yeah, I'll go to 20 for that. But don't rule out the rag chewing aspect of it. I've had some great QSOs on 20, literally lasted close to an hour long. Here's the catch with the shorter wavelengths, all right? And we've all seen this, right? If your intention is to have long QSOs and get to know people, the shorter the wavelength, in other words, the higher in frequency you go, the greater the risk of sharp QSB. And it can happen. It happened to me today, where QSB will kick in and in a period of like, let's say a 60-second or 90-second over, the signal will just drop and you'll release the key and you'll hear the guy come back and he's like just off the noise. And he'll say, boy, the signal fell out and I'm having a hard time hearing you. Okay, so keep that in mind. Not so much of a big deal if you pick and choose your times on like 40, 80 meters. So 20, you can get some shifting that goes on depending on when you're on the band, right? As things begin to shift around, you could get some QSB. But you can work DX, you can work do the hit and run, you can do some rag chewing on 20. Stuff like that. If you're going to rag chew on 20, my recommendation is, and this is for all of the frequencies, pretty much. If you're going to rag chew like 20 and up, right? Get in there and call CQ with the intention of rag chewing. And that way, you have control over the QSO. If somebody wants to clear soon, they'll just say, well, nice talking to you. Great to meet you. Blah, blah, blah. 7-3. Have a nice day. They're out of there. And then you move on to the next call. The problem with that is that oftentimes if you're sitting there rag chewing, prepare yourself for this. Again, this is for operators that are just getting in the hobby, maybe just got the general ticket. If you sit there for a long time, and this is 20 and up, pretty much any band, but 20 and up, it's most common on 20 and up from what I've seen. If someone puts you on the cluster, you have to make a conscious decision to either close that QSO, because if you're on the cluster, some people are going to be standing there waiting to talk to you, and they'll only wait so long. I will only wait so long. If I know somebody's rag chewing and I see, let's say, a signal on the cluster, right? So you go to up here and you look at all these people on the cluster, and if I click on one, if I hear them rag chewing, guess what? I'm gone. I'm off and running. I'm going to go find something else. So that's kind of how I approach that. But that's just some things to think about. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. Okay, this is just things I've seen it a million times. So, you know, rag chewing, digital modes, CW, pounce, hit and run, work the world. 20 is a very versatile band. Now we're going to move to 17. This is one of my favorite, and it just became. Now you have to understand, when I got in the hobby in 2015, I was a technician. I didn't have access to 17 meters. I upgraded to General in spring of 2016, and I upgraded to Extra in the spring of 2017. So at that time, 17 was crap. We were on the downward slide in 2014. In 2015, I remember when 10 meters closed. 10 meters closed November of 2016 here. The reason why I know that is because I spent every day on 10 meters, pounding 10 meters, just killing it. And then boom, the bottom fell out. We're on the downward slide. So now, like a year ago, 17 popped open and I'm like, holy cow, I get it. Now I understand why everybody loves 17 meters. Some things about 17 meters. 17 is called a work band, along with 12 meters is a work band. You will not see these bands being used in a contest ever because they're work bands. Hence, 17 is a great band to flee to if you don't want to work a contest, but you want to work people on a busy weekend. Now, granted, chances are it's going to be fairly busy. If the band's open, it's going to be busy, but you can get in there and work it. So what I found, this is really interesting about 17. 17 has become my second favorite rag chew band. 17 is an awesome band to get in there and yap with people. There are guys working hardcore DX. I was listening to a pileup today, a massive pileup going on 17. I don't know where the station was. I couldn't hear him, but he had quite the pileup going, right? But for the most part, you go find a clear frequency in there. You can sit there and have some great QSOs with people. Usually my QSOs last anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour if the band cooperates on 17 meters. I love 17. Here's the other thing about 17. Is that depending on where you're at, see, I'm up here in the northeastern part of the United States. So the band will the QSB will start getting really savage, right? Stations coming out of Europe. But, like, what time is it? It is coming up to 3 p.m. So just for giggles, let me go over here. Let me get over to 17. Yeah, I can already see. Okay, so that is 17 meters. Look at that. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He's 5 over. Now, that doesn't sound like a massive signal, but I'm telling you, on those bands, that's a great signal, man. That's awesome. So, and most likely, well, I can check. Let me put the cans on because this will prove my point, right? So let me see. Let's see who this guy is. Just for giggles.
Always accounts for a lot. Yeah, I would think so. But I have had them coils apart. They're pretty heavy. I think they would easily take power. But, yeah, it is a shorter antenna. And I'm like to say, length matters. No, 10 to 1. 10 to 1.
Okay, so 17 in the afternoon, you can see that. So that's stateside here. So I'm up in the Northeast, and that's Southland. I'll tell you what, Southland, check 17, you guys. You want to have some great rag chews? These guys are just rag chewing. That proves my point. I love this band. You can make some great friends, and you can have a lot of fun on 17 meter. You don't have to work DX on 17, right? You can. I do a lot, but if, hey, Clifford, you know, if you want to get in and have what I call a quality QSO, there you go. That'll do her. So that pretty much rounds out 17. I'm dribbling. I wanted to move faster than this. So 15. All right, 15. Now that the bands are open, 15, in my view, is the most versatile band of any of the bands. Here's why I say this. You can do everything you do on 17, except you have enormous bandwidth. 15 here is open every day for me. Now, if you're into your audio, right? You're into your Voodoo audio, you can run 4K wide. There's so much room on 15 meters. Holy crap. I listen to guys doing it. I hear guys doing it out of Europe. They have round tables going sometimes on 15 meters. You can do hit and run, DXing, 735973, later. You can rag chew. You can actually run like 4K wide. I wouldn't run 4K wide on 17 meters. You can if it's not busy, but there's not a lot of bandwidth on 17. You got like basically 18110 through what? 4K wide? Saying you got a clean signal and you don't splatter out a band. I mean, you got to 168 minus 164. So you can only go from 110 to 164. That's only 54 kilohertz of bandwidth. You see what I'm saying? So if you're going to run wide, you're really not a good idea on 17 unless you got a lot of room and the band's open, because it's a tight band. 15's great. So you can get away with murder on 15. 15 is kind of it's the first band I check in the morning as things are starting to pop open, because you never know what you're going to hear on 15. You're going up in frequency now, right? So that's it for 15. It's kind of like, to be honest with you, I prefer 15 over 20. I don't spend hardly any time on 20 anymore. It's all 17 through 10. Except when we have like really bad geomagnetic storms running or wicked flares. That flares will tend to really demolish the shorter wavelengths, I've found. And we just had a frickin' crackerjack here a few days ago. You guys see that? And that's K7. Yeah, that was a bad one. Anyways, moving on. 12 meters. I consider 12 like 17. 12, I've never worked 12 a lot before, but it's one of the bands I check every day, and it's an awesome band. You never know what you're going to find on 12 meters. Very small band. Tight. Really tight. But what I find sometimes is that 12 meters is actually open better than 10. I see that a lot. It's one of the best bands to be on. I never paid attention to 12 meters, but good band. If you have an antenna, if you can put up an antenna for 12 meters, great band, in my opinion. We're going to jump right to 10 meters because 10 meters is a monster. As we all know, 10 meters is a huge band, huge amount of usable bandwidth, even on phone. And 10 meters, I call the long hauler. You never know what you're going to get on 10 meters. 10 will go. I listen to guys all the time, and they're saying, yeah, I worked, Japan, all over Asia, all over the Pacific. Crazy. When 10 is open, it is gangbusters. It is gangbusters. And you can rag chew on 10 because there's so much bandwidth. But from what I've seen, there are some guys that rag chew on 10 meters, but maybe it's just because I'm not paying attention, but 10 meters tends to be more of surf and pounce type thing. You'll see some spots on the cluster, and you'll see some great stuff on 10 meters, and you'll hear them. And the one thing I wanted to say about the shorties, it's what I call the shorties, 17 15, 12, and 10. You don't need a 5 over, 10 over, 20 over signal. If you see someone on those bands that is just off the noise floor, and I don't run any major antenna here on these bands, as you know, I run that mini doublet. If you see those signals, let's say you see an S4, S5, a 5.3, hit them. I have worked more stations. Actually, I have videos up to prove this. If you go in and you look at the RSBA stuff I've done remote with the 7300 and other stuff I've done from like a year ago, some of these signals don't even bump the S meter on the 7300, and yet I can work them on 100 watts. True. It's one of those bands, and I don't know if it's because the noise floor is so low on these bands for most people. Yeah, you can work them. You do not need an S7, S9, 10 over signal. Don't pay any attention to that. Just hit them. Put your call in there. They'll hear you. It's really cool. That's what I love about these bands. So that basically covers all of the stuff. How I kind of view these bands. Of course, you can do CW on all of them. You can do your digital modes, stuff like that. But I'm primarily a phone operator. The only time I do FT8 is if I'm really bored. And I just don't feel like talking to anybody. So anyways, let me check into the chat quick. And boy, there's a lot going on in here. 20 through 10 also, 40 actually, everything I work, nice DX. Mostly talk with locals on 6 meters. I'm looking at your post, a couple posts there, Jonathan. Yeah, 17, that's a good way to describe it, Jonathan. 17 and 12 novelty contacts. Whoa, Vito's back home. That seems early, Vito. 20 meter late, I have to go out in many directions. Yeah, I worked Utah today, which is extreme. What band was that on? 17 or 10? No, I was 10. That was 10 meters, and I don't go west from here very well. I was decent. I was 5'7", and he was about a 4'3" to me. So yeah, I caught Utah, and I was actually calling. I worked 2, one off of West Coast and one off of out of Utah. So that was really cool. Let's see. Tim, how you doing? Oh, G2 inbound. Is that what you said, Tim? Lovely. Second on the 17 meters HLS. Sounds like Donald Clifford. Yeah, 741. 15 is great, isn't it? Such a great band. Love 15. I had a blast on 15 last fall. Gosh, a year ago? You couldn't do anything wrong on 15. Oh, got a funny story for you. You guys want a killer 17 meter setup? You're going to love this crap. And I saw it with my own eyes. Harry Paul, his name is. Mike 7, MM7 WAB out of Scotland. He ran 2 A99 verticals, phased, reversible, on 17 meters. Perfectly resonant on 17. I didn't know that. But he phased up 2 of them. You should have freaking seen where he got on 10 watts. Holy crap, on 17 meters. If I was out in the clear, I'd go buy myself 2 A99s and phase them up. I'm serious. That thing was a freaking weapon. That made like these big beams look like a pile of crap that these guys run, these OptiBeams and stuff. I wouldn't waste my money on that crap. I wouldn't even waste my money on a hex or anything. I just throw up two A99s. I saw it. He showed me PSK Reporter where he got on those things on nothing. Holy mother. What's the distance on 17 meters where you'd have to put two up and phase them? Gosh, you could put that on a postage stamp and you'd have more fun on 17. Anyways, that's pretty much it for me, guys. We'll see y'all later. Have a good day. Thanks for putting your comments in there. And this goes for everybody else who sees this after the fact, after the stream closes. Share your experiences. Not so much the technical stuff, unless you want to, but what are your favorite bands and why? All right. Quick closing comment. There is a forum on the website now. I'm pretty much not going to be answering questions. Like highly technical questions. Diagnosing problems. I'm going to try and do that on the forum. So go ahead and register on the website. I think you may have to register and go ahead and become a member of the forum. You just do it. You don't need I don't think you need an approval from me or anything. And just go ahead and post something in there. That's going to be my go-to place where I correspond. The main reason is because knowledge is power. And people, it won't just be between you and I. It'll be in the community. So people can go in. How many times, my point is, how many times do we go to a forum to get an answer to a question? There you go. All right. Catch y'all later, 7-3. God bless. Thanks for checking in, everybody. If I don't catch you, I'll be back before Christmas, but I'll just wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a slappy New Year, and an awesome holiday season. And we'll look for you soon. Hopefully be nice to catch a bunch of you on the air. Anyways,